Mark Millar has been really just going off on the comic industry over the last few months. We saw him go on Thinking Critical, where he absolutely savaged the comic industry and said that they need to bring back like the people who actually have talent, because of course there's all these hacks working at Marvel and DC right now who are just using gimmicks like, hey, let's turn all these characters gay. Put a chick in it and make it gay, right? And it's been atrocious to watch, and we've seen the sales decline and these characters get ruined. And when you do replace them like this, they are ruined. When you put in this weird stuff into these books, these sexual fetishes that they're doing, it's just destroyed forever. You can't come back from that, even if there's a reboot that writes it out and pretends it didn't happen. It's still there in print. The collectors look at that and they go, gosh, Batman, did the thing. It's gross. And so it's too late in a lot of regards, but Mark Millar also has gone out of his way to show that, one, he likes what Eric July is doing with his rippaverse, which again, it just goes contrary to what the comic book industry wants. He's getting himself into trouble with this stuff. And two, he actually has now posted a sort of manifesto, let's call it, on how to fix the comic book industry. Gosh, that's a word that gets used in a lot of different contexts. And we're going to get into this and look at it and tell you exactly what we think about this in just a second. I don't know why I say we when it's just me on this channel. That's I'm not Eddie Brock and Venom, trust me. All right, my name is John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling author and award-winning comic creator, and this is my Subscribe Star. And I am, of course, making comics. I'm making prose novels. Of course, this is where you can support the channel and what we're doing here with the culture war efforts and all that. Would really appreciate you coming on here. We want to get this up about 10 times the amount of subscribers that we have now. If we can get there, we'll be competing with Marvel and DC with monthly books, and that's very exciting stuff. Right now, I'm just using all the money, funneling it right into art and producing, as you can see, Extra Sensory right here, which is coming out at about 3 pages a month. If we can get up to 60 people, I can probably get that up to 4 or 5 pages a month. And that's just kind of how it goes with art costs. I want to provide the best for you guys, the best stories. And of course, I want you guys to enjoy yourselves. And I appreciate you guys supporting our work. It'll be right here. So thank you guys for supporting us here. Here's what Mark Millar says. I don't have any skin in this game as I've worked elsewhere for a long time, but that's a nice flex right there. As he's got his own production company and everything and deal with Netflix. But I've got a lot of pals at Marvel and DC. Hate to see them struggling like this. I offer advice in good faith in a bid to help supercharge both freelance deals and the corporations themselves. It's crass to talk about money, but it's also shocking that the people writing and drawing the top books are earning a fraction of what my peers and I earned on those titles 15 years ago. I made $1,000 per page plus royalties, and I'm hearing guys on $90 a page, and that's criminal. Yeah, that's exactly what's being paid for writers at Marvel and DC. That's why they don't get any good writers at this point. Now, the comic market has collapsed in the past 5 years. These companies have less money to pay staff and freelancers. What I'm proposing is simple economics could massively help both and get them in the black again. Are you ready? They don't have the money at the moment to jack up their page rates, but it would cost them literally zero if they revolutionize their royalty deals. For example, right now, both companies typically pay around 2% royalty on all sales over, broadly speaking, 50,000 sales. So you get pretty much nothing at that juncture. Given that just a handful of Marvel and DC books sell over 50,000 copies a month, you get like Spider-Man and Batman, and that's it. This means almost no royalties are paid out. The number is almost abstract as the sales decline. This seems to be a race to the bottom in terms of any talent they can afford. My suggestion, if one of these companies swaps that 2% royalty for a 50-50 split with a creative team on all sales over, say, 60,000 copies, they will send a bolt of electricity in the industry and bring in the most commercial freelancers into the biz again. That's interesting. And when I talk to comic retailers, they say that, like, basically there's no good talent working for Marvel and DC anymore. And when they do come in, they really phone in their work because, like, there's no incentive for them to actually turn in their best work and work really hard on this stuff because they just don't make enough money doing it. They'll get a Netflix deal on their own property, so why would they do this? It doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what Mark Millar is saying here. A creator can make decent money on a modestly selling creator-owned book. It would be absolutely dwarfed by a 50-50% split on X-Men or Spider-Man sales taken to the stratosphere. They could make literally millions per year, again, for both company and talent. Can you imagine if they actually had like somebody like majorly talented working on Spider-Man? It'd be huge. This beauty of this project would cost the big two nothing. Zero fiscal outlay up front. Double win. They're getting 50% of a potentially huge number instead of a spiral into the depths where they're at right now. Freelancers, of course, would be delighted as their earnings potential would be spiking overnight, and the companies would balance the books again as they could start to invest in proper page rate and much needed new talent. As is, I think the direct market is a couple of years away from complete collapse. American-made comics are at 9% of the American market. What a dismal stat, which is insane. It needs radical surgery to fix what would cost nothing. All the indie companies are hurting because nobody's coming in for Marvel or DC books. And that's what the retailers tell me as well, by the way, that Spider-Man gets people in the door. And then maybe they'll check out somebody's independent book. But independent books don't get people in the doors of comic shops. So you have that catch-22 right there, where you do need those books to really sell and excite people to go to the comic shop every week. Every day we hear more about stores closing. Whoever does this first will have a talent migration like the industry has never seen. Who will get there first, Marvel or DC? Now, I looked across the board. Most people just savaged Mark Millar about this, from the industry to fans. They all seem to know better, thinking that, oh gosh, 50% is crazy. They'd all go bankrupt, etc. Now, he said 50% over sales of 60,000. So if you can get somebody to have a big enough name to roll into there to generate 60,000 sales on a book, you're in good shape by that point already. That's his whole point. And so you want to entice that good talent back into the pool, and then you have that dollar amount afterwards. That makes sense. And of course, that's how you win. And if you have to incentivize the talent in order to do things, otherwise there's just no reason. I would never even consider working for Marvel and DC, even as a small independent creator here. I know I'm making more money per page and more money for my books on what I do than anything that comes out of the industry. I would not be able to live off these rates for writing Spider-Man or whatnot. So why would I do it? It doesn't make any sense. And so if I'm there, the big names, Jeff Johns, and the people who are actually out there working on the films and things like that are never going to come in and actually write for these comic books. So you get the crap that's Amazing Spider-Man now. You get the crap that's Batman now. It's a disaster. So I understand what he's saying. I also don't think, and here's going to be my take, it matters anymore. I think people are bored of superheroes. I think there's not much left to tell with Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. And I think that people really need to move on. In the American market needs to transform into something like Europe, where we actually just tell stories and people come in for the stories in the creators, rather than these dinosaur properties that have been dominating the industry for a long time. If that doesn't happen, I don't really see a way forward for the industry as it is. It doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.